Expand your mind, don't let it wither and die. You'll find that it lifts your spirits high to the sky. So meditate.
I appreciate you joining me this morning. I wanted to touch base with you. I wanted to speak with you today because, social media and online content has become such a huge factor in our everyday life it used to be a few years ago, it was like not that many people were on social media, and then the cell phone sort of changed everything and everybody was online. Our grandmas, our mothers, everybody's online now. And so I just kind of wanted to chat with you about how that's changed over the course of the years and things like that. But kind of starting off, a lot of people have it's obviously a widely growing field. Can you tell me a little bit about what interested you in social media? Did you have or SEO and online digital content and digital marketing? Was it something where, were you the kid when you were small playing with computers and taking things apart, or, where did this interest kind of originate from?
I just always been interested in entrepreneurial spirit. So always been interested in having my own company, and wasn't planning on doing digital marketing or SEO, social media, any of that stuff. Just kind of fell into it after I graduated from college, got my degree in business marketing. And the first job I got out of school was doing digital marketing, helping a company out with their social media, helping out with paid ads, doing SEO. And just realized back then, this is in 2007, that everyone's probably going to have a website in the future. And there's a lot of different ways to get traffic. SEO is a way to get free traffic. And also SEO is a way to have your own business where I could work full time at these companies, but also I could go to different local businesses and ask them, like, hey, do you want to rank at the top of Google? And could pick up freelance clients here and there, and built that up to enough where I was able to quit my job and focus solely on this, but just kind of fell into it, wasn't planning on it.
Interesting. So what did you say you went to school for again?
For business marketing.
Business marketing. So you really just kind of picked this up as it's evolved, I guess. It seems like. When did you graduate college and kind of get involved in all of this?
It was back in 2007. So
okay.
Kind of the early time-ish, but still Google has been around for a while. So it wasn't that early, but it's a lot easier to do SEO and digital back then. Less competition now. A lot more competition makes it a little bit tougher, but yeah.
Yeah. How has, in the last few years, it seems like in particular, I mean, there's always been people who want to protect society and things like that. But how has some of the changes around sensitive content, I will say, and sensitive content, I guess, could be interpreted by many people to mean many different things, but just as a broad general term, how has that kind of impacted people's ability to, get attention and build businesses or build their brand online with regard to some of those changes?
I think everything's just been changing depending on who runs these websites and what they want to deem as true, not true, sensitive, insensitive, whatever they're trying to put out there. But it's kind of up to the discretion of the website, how they want to proceed with that content. If they want to label it as not accurate or whatever it may be that they're putting out there, but it's really just up to that discretion of that company.
Interesting. How, as we've talked to just real briefly about how things have sort of changed over the last few years, it obviously, like, I hear that the algorithm changes all the time and that things basically change on a very rapid basis. I feel like I've done a little bit of dabbling in digital marketing, not to any depth, but I've done a little bit. And it felt like a few years ago, admittedly, I was doing it more back then. But it felt like the rules that were kind of in place, that when you formed a strategy for your digital marketing, that those rules would kind of, or those guidelines would kind of be in place for a little while, and you could be successful for a little while. And it feels like today, I'm not involved in it on a hands-on daily basis anymore with digital marketing, but I have friends who still are. And when I speak to them, it seems like it's changing on a weekly or almost sometimes even a daily basis. There are little tweaks and things happening with the algorithm and the way things work. How do you manage? First of all, is that a correct perception that it's changing that rapidly? And if so, like how do you keep up with that, or how do consumers, that are trying to get attention, keep up with that?
Yeah, no, it is pretty much changing daily. Google changes their algorithm every single day. So it's just kind of trying to stay up to date with it. But most of the time it's changing the algorithm to stop spammers, to stop people gaming the system. So it's not really affecting people that are doing normal, regular SEO. But if you find like loopholes or ways to rank quicker, which people find all the time, then Google's like, hold on, we don't want you to just find a loophole and just instantly rank. So they're kind of more like minor tweaks and improvements on the algorithm, but it is just constantly staying up to date with it, especially like social and all these other things. New sites emerge, sites disappear. So it's just trying to figure out what's the latest trend and how to stay on top of it. So a lot of just reading up on blogs and forums and websites and just trying to learn as much as you can because it's constantly changing.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. It's a completely different industry. I remember growing up, it was like you kind of went to school, you got your degree, and you're learning. So there was this perception that your learning was capped. You stopped learning, and you knew your trade, and you just did that for 30 years. And I think a lot of industries have changed, but obviously the digital realm is even more so, where you really have to be willing to. It seems like continually learn and educate yourself on an evolving basis. It really takes the lifelong education term to a whole nother level as a professional in that industry.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're just constantly evolving with it and learning, and it's not really just you're done once you learn it. You're just constantly evolving, which makes it interesting too, because there's the same thing over and over again. You get a little boring and mundane. So at least Google changes it up and it keeps it interesting.
Well, let's talk about Google a little bit. Google has become pretty synonymous with the internet in general. Most people just refer to let's Google it. It's kind of the catch-all for searching and things like that. But, recently, I think people have become a little more aware of how different online platforms, search engines, apps, and all sorts of different things kind of collect data and use that data to basically serve us ads and sort of use us as a commodity to advertisers in some sense. What is I've also been following. Honestly, I use Google, but because it is still, for some things, it just seems like the best search engine. But I do try to use other search engines. I used Firefox browser for a long time. Recently, I've started using Brave. What's your opinion on some of these, or your perspective on some of these other search engines and other platforms that are trying to sort of unseat or rival Google? Is there a real chance that any of them could catch on, or are they always going to be sort of novelties and not really be able to be a real challenge to Google?
We'll have to see. Who knows what happens with these websites? But look at Bing and Yahoo. They've been around for a long time and they haven't been able to beat Google. But who knows if DuckDuckGo, Brave, any of the other ones, because people are becoming a little bit more aware of the privacy issues from search engines. So people use DuckDuckGo, but it doesn't have that much traffic. So when I look in Google Analytics or tools to track traffic, I'll see how many people come to the website every single month. And when I'm looking at these data points, and this is me looking since 2007 at hundreds, maybe thousands of websites, Google brings about 20 to 80% of the traffic. Bing will bring about 1%. Yahoo will bring about 1%. DuckDuckGo might bring 0.5% or maybe 1% now. And Brave and all the other ones might bring 0.5%. So it doesn't bring that much traffic, but it just depends. Like if you're a big company, like I've worked with big corporations, and 1% of, let's say they're getting 5,000 people to their website a day, 1% is a pretty big chunk. But if you're a small, medium-sized business and you're only getting maybe 20 people to your website a day, that 1% is a tiny number that, I mean, it might start growing, but who knows? Right now, Google just dominates. And then the rest of the traffic, so majority comes from Google. Then the rest of the traffic is come from like social media, email marketing, paid ads, people just typing your website in directly. But Google just, for the most part, dominates. But I would tell everyone, look at Google Analytics or a tracking tool and see where your traffic is coming from, because every website is different. But I don't think I've ever seen a website that gets more traffic from another search engine than Google.
Yeah, it does seem like Google kind of has a stranglehold on this, and at this point, you know, it almost feels like the same equivalent maybe as YouTube is to some of the rival video platforms that are trying to establish some sort of market share. It feels like these giant behemoths, you know, YouTube, Google, they've been around for so long. They're so ingrained in people's, not just our minds, but also ingrained in, you know, the mechanisms of policymaking for these kind of industries as well. It just feels like, you know, if there's a way for them to kind of keep a majority of the business on their platforms, that's likely what they're going to try to do. With speaking of Google, you mentioned some of the trackers, some of the you know, there's some different things. Everybody knows about Google Ads, so let's talk about some of Google's, I guess, offerings. You know, let's start with ads. So, are Google Ads worth it, or I guess that's a wrong way to phrase it, but in what circumstances are Google Ads like maybe a good option for a company or a consumer?
They work. It just depends if you have the budget for it, what your return on your investment is, how much you're going to make for each sale versus how much it costs per click, because it just depends on that. So you got to do the math and calculate how much am I making and how much am I spending to get each lead or sale. But it does work. It's just once you stop spending money on ads, you disappear. Whereas with SEO, you stop doing SEO, you're not just going to disappear. You're going to still be up there for the most part until your competition does more than you've done, but you're not going to really drop down immediately. So SEO is more long-term. Google Ads are more just short-term, immediate, get you that traction, but they both work. It just depends on what you're looking to do.
Now, you mentioned budget depending a little bit there with Google Ads. Obviously, that can range enormously. What is the same range when it comes to SEO? Is the same price range variance applicable to that as well? It could be, you know, very reasonable, or it could be astronomical depending on your website and what you're wanting to do with it. Like, how does that kind of compare to a Google Ads in a cost comparison?
It'll be much cheaper for SEO versus Google Ads, because Google Ads, you're paying per click. So every time someone clicks on your website, you're paying. So it could be 50 cents a click. It could be $1 per click. It could be $5 per click. It could be $50 per click, $100 per click. It adds up very quickly. So with the ads, they do work. It's just making sure you get that return on investment. Depends on like what type of business are you, and are you able to afford a $5 click, knowing that you're going to probably need 100 people visiting your website, 500 people, or spending $500 to get a lead or two, not really sales, but just get some leads. So it just depends on that return on your investment. If that's feasible, if you're going to make a positive return on it, go for it. But if not, then you got to cut it out. And that's where it just comes down to the math.
And so let's dive in a little bit to what SEO is for those that may not understand what it is and how it's applicable to maybe their online presence. Can you kind of break down a little bit, you know, what it is and what some of the components that or some of the strategies that are generally speaking used in SEO?
I don't know. SEO is search engine optimization. So that is optimizing websites to rank in the search engine. So when you're searching on a search engine like Google, then whatever pops up at the top, well, those are all paid ads at the very, very top. But right below the ads is organic, the free listings. And that is what SEO is all about, is getting you in the free listings. So getting you in that organic listing. So you're not paying every single time someone clicks on your website, you're in the organic listings. And people trust that a little bit more too as well. seeing websites and the organic listings.
That's interesting you say that, because I do subconsciously, as soon as you said that, I was like, he's kind of right. I never click on the ads. I'm always like, the ads, I always skip them and I go right down to the organic ones. That's interesting that you say that. Also, how important is it to be on the first page? Like, what's the percentage of people that will find what they're looking for when they search and that page comes up versus the amount of people that will actually scroll down the page to other results, or maybe even go to the second page of results, which I almost never do, unless I'm really searching for something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most people don't really go past page one, but it just depends. Like you said, if you're really searching for something specific and really unique, like a SKU number or a battery or something like that. But most of the time, people don't really go past page one unless it's something really specific. So got to have that presence and try to get that visibility there.
So what is or how difficult is it? And obviously, I would imagine this sort of depends on the type of business you have and what services you offer, those sorts of things. But how difficult is it to establish a new business and get them into the first page of a listing? Because it seems daunting, from a business owner standpoint. Sometimes those things can seem very daunting.
Yeah, it just depends on the competition of the keywords that you're trying to rank for. So it doesn't matter how Google's algorithm works. That doesn't matter. We're not trying to beat Google. We're just trying to figure out who's on that first page of Google, how much SEO have they done, and how can we do a better job of it? So got to figure out what they've done, the competition, and how to fill that void between your website and theirs, because it really comes down to who your competitors are, what they've done. And I can see everything you're doing. You can see everything I'm doing with SEO. So I'm going to look at what you've done and just do exactly what you've done, put my own spin on it, put my own tweak on it. Because if it's working for you, it's more than likely going to work for me. So it just go in, spy on your competitors, see what strategies are you employing. And then, but it does take time. So every website's different. Like if you're just trying to sell like tennis shoes, got a lot of competition out there. You're going to be competing against like Nike and some big corporate websites, Amazon and stuff like that. Whereas if you're selling some small, obscure, like a local plumber, less competition. Like if you're a plumber in like Los Angeles, a little bit less competition. So it'll be a little bit easier. It'll take a little bit less time. It'll still take time to get up there. It's not immediate, but it'll be a little bit quicker versus someone selling tennis shoes. It could take them years because you're competing with companies that have been pushing tens of thousands into their SEO campaigns, probably every single whole teams of people working on it.
That's intense. Yeah. What are some of the other things you mentioned that you could see what the competition was doing? How do you see what they're doing? I mean, is it just you look at their website and you can just kind of tell what they're doing just because, or is there like something that you use to see behind the scenes what they're doing?
I just look at their code. So you could right click on a website, view page source, and see all their code. And that's where they're putting keywords in different places in the coding, like a title tag or meta description or all these really technical areas. But yeah, you have to know a little bit of coding to kind of decipher it. But that's going to show you pretty much everything because they can't hide the code. So the code is going to be there and you can see exactly what they've done, how they built the website, what platform it's on, all that stuff. So you can't really hide much online.
So so we've kind of talked about what SEO is. We've kind of talked about how to, how to evaluate your competition and hopefully get on that first page. But what are some strategies of SEO that people or that you might implement for someone?
I would putting keywords in different places in the coding is the first step, but that could get a little tricky. I don't want to dive too deep into that, but adding more text to your website is something easy that everyone could do without having to code. It's just add more content to every single page. The more text you have, the easier it is for search engines to read and understand what that page is about and rank you for the correct keywords. So just adding text is something simple that everyone can do on their own without having to, again, be really tech savvy and no coding and things like that.
So yeah, this is interesting you say that, because so much of the content today has moved away from, I remember several years ago, it was blogs, and that was how people really shared information online. Now it seems like everything is really, it's gone to video. It seems like for a lot of content online. I think I saw where there's like 500 hours of video being uploaded to YouTube per minute or per hour or something. It's something ridiculous, ridiculous amount. So for that kind of content where it's so video driven today, have the search engines been modified so that they can read? Is there any way for them to read that kind of content, or is it still relying on the text that's attached to those videos?
They're trying to, but they still rely more on the text for now, but they're getting better where they don't need to. And in the future, they're not going to. But right now, if you can transcribe videos, timestamp them, just add a summary, some more content, that's going to help out a lot. But in the future, they're trying to read that video content, but they're not there yet. Same with images. They can't really read images or videos, but they're getting closer.
And are you able to go into how they're actually reading the videos, the technology, or how they're doing that? Because it seems like there's I imagine at least that a lot of where they're looking for, content they don't want on their websites. I imagine a lot of this is probably done by like algorithms and stuff. It's moving probably away from, a room full of people sitting and going through millions of pieces of content a day. Are you able to talk about that kind of technology that they're using to do that and how it's progressing?
Not too sure. I think they keep it top secret, their technology. They don't want anyone knowing how it's working because all the competition is going to steal it. Facebook video would steal it. And they don't want Facebook to have that technology because they're big time competing against each other right now for video, holding that market.
So this is Google that's developing this. Now, is Google and YouTube, are they tied together? Google
owns YouTube.
Okay, so they're going to have that. They're going to have that. So I mean, then that kind of goes back to what I'm talking about like earlier. It just feels like those, Google has such a control on the online environment. It seems so hard for a new service to supplant them as the imminent interface for the internet for most people.
Yeah, they pretty much run it all. So got to make Google happy. That's kind of where we're at right now for the time being. But who knows what will happen in the future. But right now, Google runs it all.
Let's talk a little bit about images. If somebody has a lot of video, has a lot of images, what are are there some tricks? Obviously on YouTube, like you said, you can kind of be attentive as to what your title is. You can, put a good summary in there that's going to use, I assume you want to use the same keywords in all this that you're using, that you're putting as an actual keyword into the very bottom of the area if they're for on the YouTube video. But what are some other things? Like I have a friend who talks about, the file names being important. And I will be completely honest, I probably am negligent on being thoughtful about this because, a lot of times I'm saving the content at a different time than when it's being posted online or used online. And so is that really an effective method, or is it just better to rely on, the summaries and those sorts of things?
No, you want to put that there, the file. So Google can't read images or videos, but they can read the file name of a video or an image. They can read text around that video or image. So they look at the text around it. If you're uploading it to your website, an image, it usually asks for like a title, description, caption, but then it says alt tag or alternative text. That's where you want to fill that out as well, the alternative text with words that just describe it. You're not putting keywords. You're just describing that image. And eventually you're going to have images with your products or service. That's going to have keywords in it. But if it's just a picture of people smiling, just put happypeople.jpg. Don't put happy people SEO company. That's a little spammy. That used to work, but not anymore.
Gotcha. Now that makes sense. That makes sense. And earlier we talked about blogging as well. Is this still a common thing that's used, or has it pretty much been supplanted by video content, podcasts, and things of that nature?
No, it's still very important to blog. Blogging adds more text to your website. More text means more content and more opportunities to rank for different keywords. So blogging is very, very important still. And it doesn't matter if you blog and you make your blog where you're posting your podcast, that's fine. Or you post a video on your blog, but you got to have some text supporting it. But the blog could be anything. It could be any of your articles, blogs, news, press releases, podcast interviews you're doing. You can throw that up in your blog and that's all more content, but you need to put text around it because Google struggles to read images and videos at the moment.
And did I understand you just then that the blog does not necessarily have to be attached to where your videos are displayed, or they need to be on the same website, on the same site, correct?
Or I was just saying you could put your videos on your blog. So you upload a video to YouTube, you could share that video on your blog.
And another thing that I have that someone every once in a while will tell me is still wildly effective, and they're usually older. And so I tend to question the effectiveness of this. But I also work in events to some extent and know the power of an email list, a good email list. But in general, is email marketing still an effective way for most, businesses to grow and build if they're just trying to sell a consumer good? I mean, I think email lists are good if you're an organization, you've got constant updates and things like that, and you've got kind of a membership base you're sending out to, is maybe a little bit different than if you're just a company trying to acquire consumers on a constant basis. But maybe I have a misunderstanding of that.
I would say email is probably one of the most effective forms of marketing. Look how much spam you're getting every single day. Email definitely works. It's just collecting email addresses, not buying email addresses. So collecting the email addresses is tough. How do you get people to want to subscribe to your newsletter or to give you their information? But if you collect emails, that's going to be the best. Not just buying a list. Buying a list is not going to do any good. But if you build a list up, nurture them, offer them good value, that's going to be really, really, really effective.
And then, LA is a big city. There's a lot of I've encountered a lot of, I will say, marketing and digital marketing agencies in Los Angeles. Can you touch on a little bit just what the market is like for digital, for your industry in particular? Because some of them they range quite a bit. I've had some come that I've talked to, and they just have exorbitant rates, and it just it seems like they're really priced for Fortune 500 companies type of financial resources. And so can you talk a little bit just about the lay of the landscape in LA in particular? Because I know a lot of people that, my day job is that I work in the cannabis industry, which is obviously very limited in what we can do marketing wise, especially online. So I think there's always a lot of people that are approaching myself and other people in the industry that I know that have, I've got your solution, kind of situation. And, just kind of wanted to get your take on kind of the lay of the land. And, if you had any suggestions for an industry that is, I don't know if maybe you may not even keep up with it, but an industry that is, trying to find ways to reach consumers, but obviously do it in a thoughtful manner that's not going to get them, their accounts deleted or things like that.
Yeah, it's just really not a one size fits all. Every website is different. Every company is going to be different. Every business is different. So they got to just figure out if you're an e-commerce website and you're selling 10,000 products, or you're a local restaurant that has 10 pages, it's going to be a lot different of how much time and effort it's going to take to rank that website, to optimize all those pages. So it's just trying to really figure out how much time and effort it's going to take. That's why some will range with less costs. Some will be a little bit more expensive, but it just depends on how competitive that industry is and how much SEO needs to be done on your website to get you to that level that your competitors are at. Because it's not really one size fits all. It's really got to dive in and evaluate the website. That's why I always offer free consultations, because got to evaluate the website, see what's working and what's not working. Because it's not just here's the price. It's here's what's going to work for you. Here's a roadmap and a guide.
Is it possible for somebody that maybe they don't have a website, but maybe they use, because I see this a lot when I click on somebody's bio or whatever, and they'll have their YouTube page as their website, instead of having an actual website. Are they kind of toiling in futility by doing that when it comes to SEO? Would they be better off? I mean, obviously, would they be better off? They would be better off, but should they really invest? Do they really need, in order to get the traction they're looking for, to invest in a website where they can have that extra text and incorporate maybe a blog or things like that, and then tie in the YouTube page to that? Like, is that a better strategy for somebody like that?
I mean, you don't own YouTube. You're just renting space off YouTube. They could take you down anytime. That's not your website. You don't own any of that stuff.
That's a good point.
So I would always post everything. You could post it on YouTube, all these videos, but then take the videos and post them on your website and drive people to your website, because you own the website. You don't own YouTube, and they could take that stuff down anytime. And then you just lost all that work, or they drop your reach and engagement. Like Facebook, you don't get much reach. So I would not rely on social. I rely on social to get you traffic. YouTube is a way to get more traffic to your website, essentially. That's what it should be used for.
Now, when you say that, though, you wouldn't want to share the YouTube video on your website. You would literally want to upload the video to your website, correct?
No, you upload the video to YouTube and then you embed the video on your website from video.
But if YouTube then removed your content for some reason, you would lose that video? You would still lose the video, right?
But you should have it saved somewhere. But you want YouTube, because YouTube is the second biggest search engine. So they're going to give you a lot of visibility, a lot of exposure, but you don't want to just give them everything. You want to have people go onto your website to watch that YouTube video.
I see. Now that makes sense. That makes sense. Interesting. There was something else I wanted to ask you about. It sort of has escaped me for the moment. What do you as things kind of continue to progress, what do you see as for the future of the online world? Because I've talked to a lot of people, and I feel like, with some of the technology that's trying to be developed with VR and things of that nature, I'm a little hesitant of diving into the full online Ready Player One kind of world, but I have a feeling there are a lot of people that would like to dive into that world, and I also get the sense that we actually might not be too terribly far away from that. What do you see for the future of, being an average person, being online, what that experience might evolve into?
Yeah, that one is tricky. Maybe we're all going to be in that metaverse, and who knows? Yeah, that part is tricky. I don't really know what the future holds, but for now, Google runs everything. So Google kind of makes rules, but who knows what's going to happen in the future if we all live in that metaverse or some other thing. But right now, it's really just got to make Google happy.
Awesome. Well, where can people find you online? Where can people learn more about your services and connect with you?
Yep. So for everyone listening, I create a special gift for them. If they go to my website, SEO Optimizers.com, that's SEO Optimizers.com/gift, where they can find all my contact information. And if they want to check out more classes I've done over the years, there's a bunch of free classes I put up there. And also, if they want a free website analysis, I'm happy to dive in, check out their website, see what's working, what's not working from an SEO point of view, and give them a free consultation that they could book on my calendar on that page.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. So be sure to check that out. I appreciate you making the time to chat with me this morning. And hopefully hope you have a good weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today.